Welcome to the Eclectic Gamers Podcast. Today is Sunday, June 30th. It is episode 91. I am Tony.
And I am Dennis. We're back again, Tony. It's not the E3 episode.
Back again.
There are no obnoxious guests trying to have us talk about Google Stadia.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? How much feedback I got on that?
All of it. That's what all the
I got
feedback
one.
was.
I got one who liked it.
Oh. Well.
The person we mocked for praising it. Nick Baldridge, the lover of bingos. So we can't trust that too much. But so here we are, episode 91, getting close to the end, or at least to the end of the double digits.
Yeah.
So what's happened since E3 to you?
Well, we recorded our E3 episode on Saturday.
Yep.
Because Father's Day was on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. As it usually is.
And everybody had plans.
Yes.
Well, for Father's Day, I received a bit of...
The herp.
No.
I'm sorry. It just seemed like the natural thing to come out of Father's Day.
That's what happened. I mean, that was, it happens sometimes. No, I got an air fryer.
Oh.
I'll be 100% honest. It's about the only thing I've used to cook since then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm beyond pleasantly surprised. I just thought, okay, we can do fries again and make them good because, French fries out of the oven are terrible.
Yeah, they're...
No matter how much my wife tries to say they're good.
They taste
horrible.
different. They taste different.
Fries out of the air fryer are awesome. Hard-boiled eggs out of the air fryer are awesome. Grilled cheese out of the air fryer is awesome. Homemade pizzas out of the air fryer are awesome. I mean, I've made tons of stuff in it. It's just downright amazing, honestly. I'm kind of in shock at how good it does everything.
This episode of the Eclectic Gamers podcast is brought to you by Air Fryer. Fry the air. Fry life.
So, congratulations for whoever came up with that idea because I love it.
Excellent. It's the new walk of the kitchen. It can do everything.
Exactly. And otherwise, I've been...
Working. Are you going to say working?
Busy getting some stuff ready. We're getting ready to redo some of the stuff in the lawn. We've got some areas. So I've been getting some tools and getting ready to start that insanity. And I had to clean the gutters and I had to do all sorts of stuff like that.
I don't like cleaning gutters.
I don't either.
I finally later last year, or maybe it was earlier this year, finally had them install the nice gutter guard things after guards. They put on bigger, they were confused at first and they put on bigger gutters. And I said, no, I thought we were doing guards. I don't want to ever go up there. And they said, well, I only recommend the pricey ones. The little screen ones don't work very well. And I said, whatever it takes. I had to do it twice in 1 year, and I was like, that's too much. That's silly.
I had put it off for so long that there were trees growing in my gutters.
Oh, it's like a little roof garden.
And when I went in and started digging the gutters out, literally there was about a half inch of clearance from the top of the gutter to the hard packed dirt and leaves and stuff. So
for me, the only sad thing was guards, new bigger gutters. It still will. However, the roof is sloped, will drain on top of the porch. I can't. It's apparently not a clogged gutter. It's just how it's
laid out.
How it's settled or something. Yeah. So, okay.
So, other than
that's
that,
cool.
I've been,
air fryer
has
brought you joy.
It's brought me joy.
Good.
Playing video games.
Cold waters.
No, actually. I've been playing nothing but Rule the Waves.
Okay.
And
the French can't be trusted in that.
You know what? F the French.
I knew it. When
I played as Italy, I expected the French to be one of the countries I fought the most. And I did. I fought them like 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm on a new playthrough where I'm playing as the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I fought Russia twice. I fought Germany once. I fought Italy once, and I fought France 7 times, and it's 1934.
I don't know. When will they want peace?
I don't know. I'm wondering if I play as France, if nobody will ever fight me, because France apparently are the only people who do most of the wars.
What if you fight yourself?
Well, that's
French Civil War.
French Civil War.
That's right.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. You're going to be Napoleon on a boat.
Yep.
Napoleon boat.
Okay.
Well, that's awesome. So I haven't played as much video games in the last couple of weeks. I got in more time on Red Dead Redemption 2. Not much, but then I started listening to a new pinball podcast. It's a newer one. I think they've had 3 or 4 episodes out of, I think 4 at this point. I came in as of episode 2, which is actually the 3rd. They did one of those where they opened with an episode 0.
Oh, one of those.
Yes, one of those that did that. But this is Lauren Gray's podcast. It's called the Backbox Pinball Podcast. I think it's meant to be a weekly. At least that seems to be the pace so far. I don't usually go back and listen to old, so it's wherever I come in is kind of how I do it. And so she's sort of following what I consider the old TWIP podcast format, where she's the host and she has revolving guest hosts.
Right.
But her podcast is a focus on women in pinball. They cover competitive, they cover collecting, but my impression is her guests will all be women. And so it's been good so far. So it's on the list. Something had to fill the void of Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
And that's what got to do it.
And you don't have to worry about being brought in to do this one.
Why not?
Unless you've changed your consideration since the last time I talked to you, that is.
She could make an exception for me.
She could.
You didn't contemplate that option, did you?
It's possible. I'll send her an email.
No, I don't need to be on any more shows. Actually, there was an interesting thread on, I think it was just on Facebook, and it linked to Head2Head Pinball and to TWIP Pinball, TWIP podcast. And it was just sort of asking, why are there not more women guests on those shows? Which is a fair enough question.
Yeah.
And cause then I thought, when was our last women guest? Whoops, sorry, my pen. It was Mrs. Penn.
Yeah.
Last year. Of course, we've only had the 3 episode guests this year.
I thought we had one. We had
Nick. We had Nick.
So
You're right.
Nick
for the Coin Op Carnival book.
Right.
So obviously we've just had less guests in general, but it was an interesting point. But anyway, someone, I don't remember who it was, but someone said, I'm just sick of hearing Dennis all the time. And I thought, me too. Me too. Just set us free.
I did like how you call it TWIP Pinball. So it's This Week in Pinball.
Yeah, but I meant to revise that. I should just call it This Week in Pinball Podcast. I should say it out. Saying TWIP makes it sound really stupid. So, but, well.
It sounds like you've got a really lame Spider-Man.
TWIPy sounds fun, but TWIP sounds like twerp. And that was, okay. You got a much more positive. You have a sort of positive mental image of it. Mine's much more negative. And then, most of my pinball projects are done. At this point, I saw
you stream Super Orbits yesterday.
I did. And then today I went in I was having a little trouble with the Very Target, and after the stream, I adjusted it a little bit, cleaned it, and it was better, but not great. And then my dad sent me a Todd Tuckey video of how to properly adjust the Very Target. And my adjustment was, actually, I kind of undid part of the adjustment was okay, but it was the brass contacts, apparently just cleaning them with alcohol or a business card. What I normally use to clean switches wasn't good enough. It said to use emery cloth.
Oh yeah.
Shine those puppies up.
Yep.
Did that. I tested it for like a dozen shots of varying strengths. Not a single one misread. So I think it was that simple. I just needed to shine those puppies up. So all I have left is to install the back box lock into Jacks to Open, which I had streamed a day or two before. I've done 2+ hour streams.
Nice.
So my legs are very sore, but
yeah, we've used some of those emery cloths at work on the hydraulic pistons when they'll start getting some surface rust and you hit them with the emery cloth.
Yeah, I was surprised I had some. I have a whole box of sandpaper and it is in there. I probably could have used a fine grit sandpaper and been okay, but because Todd had something else, some special little eraser tool thing, but anything abrasive, I have files, but I only use those on tungsten contacts because I don't want to, you can file them away. It's an aggressive file. So that's okay for like flipper switches, but I normally in most switches, you would not use a file like that, but this worked really well. It's like, Done.
Great sound effects.
Yeah, thank you. That's what it sounded like in real life. Did you know I used to voice sandpaper?
See, my favorite part is that is that the machine just tells you when it's done. It just goes done.
Yeah. Okay, so let's formally transition because this is I don't know where this is at, but I don't know. I think it's possibly bleak. I'm not sure. So
we're in the darkest timeline.
We are. So let's move to the pinball news in that darkest timeline, and there is darkness within this timeline. We do have news to talk about, so that's good. I think we should probably open with the biggest piece of news. The Willy Wonka pinball machine from Jersey Jack Pinball. It's shipping.
I am shocked.
They made their timeline.
I saw somebody post a picture of an arrival yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Obviously, we had been hearing.
I mean, we're real bare bones on the wire because tomorrow's July.
Yeah. But. Yeah. But I mean, what was the vague thing said early summer, obviously, where we just entered into summer. He wanted to have people, Jack Guarnieri, if I'm saying his last name right, wanted to have people have it in their homes, according to one of his interviews, as of the 4th.
Right.
And it sounds like that's come true.
At least some people.
Yeah. So, and my understanding is it didn't just go to, there was a rumor that it's just the standard models that have been built so far. But there was a rumor that they were going to operators first. People who were known to operate the games in order to up exposure would be the theory. But it sounds like it was a blend. Some are for operators and some were for home collectors. So I even saw that Ken Cromwell from Special When Lit Pinball Podcast posted a picture on his birthday of getting it on his birthday.
Aww.
It was nice. So I'm sure he's loving it, and they'll probably stream that on the Flippin' Out Pinball stream.
On my birthday, I got
an air fryer.
No, that was Father's Day.
Oh, that's right. Your birthday was months ago.
It was months ago.
Why are you trying to bring?
I think I had a midlife crisis. I think that's what I got. I think I got a midlife crisis for my birthday.
It's possible.
I'm pretty sure that's just required at this point.
I guess so. I don't know the rules.
Yeah.
I don't make the rules.
Yeah.
We just try and follow the rules. Unfortunately, for me at least, the discussion of Wonka is now tainted, severely tainted, because Jersey Jack lied to This Week in Pinball during the build-up to this launch.
Really?
Shipping, yes. And we have not discussed this. I know you've seen the show notes, which just had a one line thing. So allow me to elaborate. I know you regularly read This Week in Pinball.
Yes.
So you may recall that Jeff of This Week in Pinball was, in the last few weeks, noting that there was conflicting information regarding if the Wonkas were under construction, if they were on the line, is the common vernacular. Because there are all sorts of people writing in to Jeff, contacting Jeff, letting Jeff know, I've heard from my distributor, or I've heard from this person and that person that the Wonkas are on the line. They're getting built. So it should be shipping pretty soon. Jeff reached out multiple times to Jack, and Jack told him Wonka is not on the line. Told him that initially, and then Jeff reached out again, according to the TWIP write-up, later, saying he checked in again, and Jack said, no, the Wonkas are not on the line. And then just before the Wonkas shipped, and the latest This Week in Pinball write-up, it indicated that when he was asked, Jack said, I said early summer, we're on schedule. Well, they were on the line because they've been now shipped. So rather than say no comment, rather than say, off the record, they're on the line, but publicly, I don't want to admit that. I don't know the motivation. I'm assuming as a surprise. I don't see how it works as a very good surprise when the distributing network seems to be aware.
Right.
But do you remember when another pinball manufacturer lied? We talked about one before.
Just one?
One in particular, because we spent quite a bit of time discussing the lie because of how misleading it was.
Yeah.
And there have probably been some other instances where they've been cagey or not full with the truth. The one that I think of is Dutch Pinball, obviously.
Right.
When they told everyone that it was the board sets having issues, instead of admitting or saying nothing about that, whether they were in conflict with ARA at the time. I did reach out to Jeff. Jeff normally does all the reaching out. I reached out to Jeff yesterday and asked him if Jack has apologized for this, and he has not. They spoke on the phone. Jack, I've had people, like when I was streaming, this came up a couple of times. I've seen some, Jeff's been public about it. Jeff canceled his Wonka.
Really?
Yes. I think he ordered an Alice Cooper now instead. But he canceled his Wonka.
Huh.
And so he did contact Jack. There have been some people that have been under the impression or trying to put themselves under the impression that maybe Jack didn't know, that maybe he didn't know his own game was on the line. This is pinball, and people reach because I think some of them have a problem with what's happened here, but they still want to buy their game and they want to act like they have some sort of morality in play. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to judge that. But what I am here to say is that Jack knows what he did. He hasn't apologized for it. I'm not going to reveal everything that Jeff told me, but Jack essentially said, maybe I'll do it differently next time.
Okay.
What is your thought on this? Because I know I've hit this all with you. Some of this was played out on social media. Jeff, understandably, was pretty upset that because he's functioning as a media outlet with This Week in Pinball. I think everyone acknowledges that operationally, it's much like how Pinball News is. It's gathering information. He tries to verify. He puts out what he's got confirmations on. He notes when things are speculation. I don't understand why a business would lie to a media outlet.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, especially a media outlet that is so central in your wheelhouse, basically. A media outlet that is just so central to the hobby, that is a touchstone for so many people. It seems like the exact wrong group to be causing issues with.
I mean, ultimately, I don't know if there's really any impact on this. I think people like the game, are interested in the game. Here's my impact on this. Unless there's a public apology, I will never buy a Jersey Jack pinball machine, new in box. I've not played Wonka yet. We're getting one on location. I'm not going to punish the operator and say I'm not going to play it. I'll play it. I might, but even if I love it, I won't buy it new.
I can respect that.
So, I mean, that's my position. Jack has lost me as a customer permanently. Unless there's an apology. It's public. And it better not be one of those, oh, I'm sorry if you misunderstood, or I'm sorry if you were upset. No, no. It's humble pie time.
I just still don't understand the reason for a lie.
The
simplest thing I can think, I mean, a simple no comment is all.
Apparently he's never seen any movie with any journalist in it ever. I mean, to know that's not like a throwaway.
It's people the last say that thing all the time. Want to do is to lie about, especially to somebody who is so everywhere, omnipresent, who's so omnipresent in the hobby.
If he was, the only thing I can think of is he wanted it to be a surprise to people. But again, you don't have to lie to accomplish that. And I sure shouldn't have to be the person to tell you that that's not what you needed to do. If you wanted to surprise people, you want to surprise here. Listen, Jersey Jack, you want to surprise people with your product? Do what you did with Wonka and actually ship it on time. That's a surprise. That's a surprise. But here you are with Amateur Hour all over again, acting like you didn't do anything wrong because you should have gotten out in front of this already.
Right.
And you haven't. So I'm done. I'm done with them. I'd almost not cover them anymore at all.
Wow.
Because why should I? I can't trust anything that they say.
No, that is true. I mean, at this point, you can't trust anything they say.
I can't trust anything that they say.
It's just like everything that comes out of Dutch. It's the same thing. It
exactly.
has to be taken with an
and we've had to say that
salt.
repeatedly. In fact, I'd say you're probably more adamant about it on the Dutch side. But anytime it's come up, you're always
Dutch.
Like, why? It'll be like, hey, they've said this about the lawsuit. And you're like, why should I believe that?
Uh-huh.
They lie.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the difference between the two, Dutch apologized for their lie.
Oh.
They did.
And honestly,
it took them a while, but they did.
And honestly, their lies made sense, where this lie doesn't make any sense at all.
No, I don't get it. It was not a smart maneuver. I'm not calling for a boycott or anything. Guys and gals out there, buy what you want. My rules of honor will not allow me to purchase new because of this. Because I cannot trust this company now with anything that they're going to say. Because if they're going to lie to the media, they'll lie to me.
Well, yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm the media. I'm saying I'm nobody. So if it rolls so effortlessly off of their tongue to do this and to act like it's okay because they're going to sell these same games anyway to all the people because they've got you in the palm of their hand. No, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I'm done with it. So I'm not.
They've never made a game worth me spending that much money on.
Well, and that's fair, but that's a separate judgment. That's a rational consumer judgment.
Yeah.
This is my judgment on you did not operate as the proper head of a company. So it's humble pie time, or you can write me off, and you might as well write me off because I doubt they'll listen.
Oh, they won't.
It's fine.
There's no way.
Do what you want, but I can't.
This is one of those.
I can't fiscally support a company that is so willing to be manipulative for the most, at best, ridiculous of reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's no good reason for it. I mean, something as simple as saying, I don't want this published. Yes.
It doesn't make sense.
That's all he had to do.
I don't understand.
Or no comment.
I don't understand.
Anything other than a lie. That's like rule of media number one. When you're talking to the media, you might not answer. That's why you see so many people, when there's stuff going on in investigations, they do the non-answer answers.
Yeah, we don't comment on legal proceedings.
We don't comment, or they'll answer, but they don't actually answer the question.
Stern Pinball's example. We don't comment on upcoming titles.
Right.
Stuff. There's
tons of ways to cover this.
Exactly. He didn't have to say it was on the line. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you had to not lie.
Yeah.
How hard was that? Apparently it was too hard.
You're passionate. I can see the fire burning in your eyes.
It tilts me so much. It really does. Okay. So enough about Wonka. Let's transition to a different news topic. This one might be negative for some women. I guess it seems like a redo of something we discussed last year, and that's endorsement fees from the IFPA.
Again?
Yes. This time for the women's Whopper system. And for those that don't know, the Whopper is what people say the acronym is for the world pinball point ranking or something like that. Mm-hmm. Pinball player ranking, I think. It's the point system that the IFPA uses in order to evaluate and place people based off of their performance at IFPA sanctioned tournaments. So they actually have their own Whopper system. They've had it for a while now. For women. And that's used for certain championships and things like that. So it's a separate grading system so that there's still the general Whopper system that everyone, including women, are in as well.
Right.
So as part of that, I have a link in the show notes to the announcement that the IFPA has about the $1 endorsement fee. But apparently, so starting next year, at least in America, and I'm assuming Canada as well, because they also have the $1 on the regular Whoppers. Right. They're going to add a $1 endorsement fee to the women-only IFPA sanctioned Whopper events in order to build a prize pool for championship level events. Thoughts?
I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem.
Well, you're not a woman, so.
Well, I didn't have a problem when it came to the other. I mean, I remember being a little. It was one of those things we talked about, and I seem to recall, it was so long ago, I recall I wasn't really keen on it, but as long as the tournament prices didn't change, which in our area they didn't.
No, they didn't.
I'm fine with it. Congratulations to those people who get to make out better on the actual prize pools now because of it, because it doesn't, I mean, it ain't never going to be me. When was the last time I actually went and played tournament pinball, Dennis?
2 months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
I think.
No, Memorial Day.
I
was in that tournament.
Okay.
But it was for Missouri points. Nobody cares about
those
Missouri
are fake.
points.
Those are essentially fake
Missouri points.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. But, I mean, I haven't even been.
Yeah. You basically hate pinball now.
Apparently. That's how it seems like.
But that let me get second at a pinball tournament because you weren't there to. Because Batman Dark Knight was back. And I was on it, and I thought, I'm glad I'm not playing Tony, and then I won, because I wasn't playing you. So it worked out. And I got my money. I got my photo taken.
This is going to be, this is a little side digression. This is just a tiny little side digression.
That's fine. This probably won't be as toxic as some of the side digressions that the listeners that don't know, but I had to cut out because they were so bad on our prior topic.
Yeah. I was so pissed off last tournament because I haven't been to a tournament in forever.
I know.
And it's always some little thing, something happening at home, something issue, this or that. I was so pissed off, and I went home, and because there were problems with the kids.
Yeah, this was right after we recorded the E3 episode. For those
we recorded the E3 episode.
I
was gonna go to the tournament, but there were issues with the kids, so I went home, and as soon as I got home, the kids were like, Daddy's home, and Daddy is obviously pissed. And the kids were great the rest of the night. They were fine. It was absolutely fine. So
that was your calming presence.
It was my calming presence. But man, I've not been to 403 Club since before Texas.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that one was that long. But
I haven't been to 40. The last time I went to 403 Club was when afterwards we went out to dinner with
Gordon and Logan. Okay.
And them, and that was March. The
March one before we went to Texas. Yeah.
And I've only been to Pizza West once, and that was also the March one because it was the week after Texas, I think.
Right. It was.
Or it was either that one or April I went to. But that's it. I've only been to 2 tournaments since Texas, and one of them was for fake Missouri points. I would really like to go play pinball next week, but at this point I'm not holding my breath on it. I would really like to go play pinball, 2 weeks after that. I'm also not holding my breath on it.
Yeah. Game night conflict on that one.
Yeah.
I think. I might just go I don't like missing Pizza West. I'm kind of at the point where I might just draw a line in the sand on that one. I'll give up the 403 one because of the drive time, but the other one I really don't like.
Well, that's the one you get closer and closer to getting first place in that one.
I don't think I get much closer. I've had second twice now, so it's really as close as you can.
That's twice more than me.
Well, you're never there.
I know.
So how can you do it? Like half the lineup's changed since you've last been there.
I still enjoy pinball.
Well, speaking of pinball and speaking of the IFPA point my issue on and I had an article about the main endorsement point fee earlier this year, which, showed there has been slowing on the growth, but there's still growth. So it didn't kill growth. It didn't stop there being more tournaments and more players, which was an interesting question. The thing for me with the Whopper fee is I don't accept that it actually is going to grow the sponsorship angle that the IFPA is shooting for. I'm very cynical about that.
Oh, I don't see how.
I get where it's based because Josh Sharp's been very public about how he's modeled that. The concept is modeled on what's happened with the Big Buck Hunter arcade stuff. But to me, the gap there is that it's very easy for just about anyone to watch Big Buck Hunter, figure out what's going on with it, and spectate it. And pinball has a whole slew of challenges ranging from how it's viewed to how many different games are in tournaments and the rules being different, that it's just not, I just don't think the environment's the same. But that's just I don't know that for a fact. That's me speculating.
I know pinball quite well, and I don't really watch pinball for fun out of stuff. It's not like I'll sit down on Twitch and watch a whole bunch of pinball. I watch Ustream when I have the time and I catch it. I'll watch special release things like when Jack Danger has a special release thing or when Buffalo has something. I'll watch them, but I don't just sit down during the day. Oh, I'm going to watch somebody play some pinball.
It's even amongst that. There's obviously a difference between watching competitive pinball and watching someone streaming pinball. Like Jack Danger doesn't usually stream competitive pinball. He's usually playing and interacting with his audience. Or that's what the Flippin' Out stream is doing once a week, is they're showcasing a new available game. Mm-hmm. A lot of what's going on with the show revolve entirely around the discussion that's happening. And in fact, one of the most popular aspects of the Flippin' Out stream is they now have Flippin' Out after hours. So they stream for, say, 90 minutes to 2 hours, and then usually for another 45 minutes to an hour. After, they even have a call-in hotline now, and people are doing it like a late night radio show and going and doing, just weird stuff. So that,
it's to like be Art Bell.
Right. It's to be entertainment.
Right.
So even that in and of itself is different. I'm not entirely sure. Is this $1 endorsement fee on the women's system just to up the prize pool and that it? Or is it to up the prize pool and try and bring in sponsors? Because the quantity of players you're slicing it thinner and thinner.
Right.
Because now you did the whole Whopper system within Canada and America, a little bit thinner than the overall Whopper system worldwide. And now you're doing the women only in those areas a little bit thinner. Because I've already done it on one, I don't have a problem either with them doing it on this type of Whopper point as well.
I was just surprised this wasn't included when they did it on the other anyway.
Well, I think that, here's the thing that I thought was interesting. And so shout out to my intro mentioned Backbox Pinball podcast, but this got discussed during episode 2, I believe it was, because the IFPA asked for feedback from women on the idea. And then at least per the discussion between those two women on that show, the next thing they knew, here's the IFPA saying, oh, well, we're doing it. So they had a lot of, go back and listen to episode 2. They had an interesting discussion towards the tail end of the episode, I believe, but they had a very interesting discussion about, did the IFPA act like they solicited feedback and then just kind of did what they were going to do anyway? Because that was the impression they got. So now when the IFPA fee overall was implemented, there wasn't a request for feedback. It was just announced. I remember because it was announced on April Fool's Day, which was a tremendous mistake, but because initially everyone thought it was a joke.
Exactly.
So it's like, oops.
It's like somebody didn't think that one out.
Well, it's kind of funny from a trolley standpoint, but given it's involving people's money, my recommendation is don't ever troll on that. It. Yeah, do other things on the April 1st thing. But so I don't know about that. Maybe they did incorporate some of the feedback, but it sounded like the impression was it was just an idea for consideration. And there wasn't a very big period of time before the next thing they know, here, we're doing it. I'm not surprised they're doing it.
Feedback turns into, well, I talked to my wife and she said it was a good idea.
Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe the feedback was used. Again, I'm reporting it, so basically third hand.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was interesting. So there's a fee. Another piece of news that we can hit on is, Gary Stern. He had an interview with Martin with the Head2Head Pinball.
Yep.
And I have a link to that podcast episode in the show notes for those that want to hear it. It's the interviews in the first part of
There's normally
show.
are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So it's easy to find. So there's one aspect that I wanted to focus on. There's a lot of stuff in the interview, but this is the part where Gary claimed that the Pro models, they do the Pro Premium LE, yes. And for them, the Pro is the cheap model.
They do the correct model as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Unlike other places that make up stuff and just are crap.
Like who?
Like He Who Should Not Be Named.
Why? Because, he likes to make up stuff. So
yeah. Well, obviously.
so even
he makes up his own model.
Okay. Well, that's true. That LE being the middle model is so confusing. And then the extra confusion, of course, with Chicago Gaming, because their CE is Classic Edition, but Collector's Edition for Jersey Jack is the high end, but CE is the low end.
It's just, wow.
And
you need a key. You need a key to be able to understand what's going on.
So anyway, in the interview, Gary said, quote, "If you take our Pro model, it is underpriced. It is underpriced. We don't make enough money on it, but we think it is important for operators and for homeowners." End quote. What do you think of that statement?
I can see it.
In what way how do you interpret that statement?
Okay.
That's
the way I interpret that statement is specifically with that we don't make enough money on it. My assumption is that they have like a lot of businesses, when they do something, they have a targeted percentage for profit. And I don't think they make that targeted percentage. I don't think they lose money, because I think he would have said they lose money on each one.
All right.
My guess is whatever they're targeted, like say they want a 5% profit. I don't know. Making a number up. So don't quote me on this. I'm just pulling a number out of my rear. If they want a 5% profit, they might hit that on the other models. On these, they don't hit that. But there's no way that they're I would be in shock if they were just breaking even. There's no way they're losing money on these. This isn't like when Microsoft or Nintendo decides to sell their consoles and they're losing money on each console sale because they make it all up on game sales. Pinball doesn't work that way. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're making a marginal profit on pros compared to the others.
I agree. And I had a conversation with Zach on the This Week in Pinball podcast about that. And I think when he may have been just for discussion purposes, sort of fishing on that, wondering, did I interpret that as that they lose money? It's like, no.
There's no way.
He didn't say, and
it wouldn't
exactly,
make sense.
It doesn't, because you can't do a loss leader model in pinball. What are they going to make their money back on? Toppers? It doesn't make,
right.
There's no game to sell to put into the game.
Right. You can do that on consoles. You can do, there's a lot of things you can do a lot of that
right.
in.
It's we often will refer to those sort of ideas, loss leader ideas. That the thing I always think of is it's called the razor and blade model.
Yeah.
Where Gillette sells the razor at a loss or gives it away because they're going to make the money on the cartridge blades.
I got one on my 18th birthday from Gillette, and I used it until I was like 26.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I remember getting one mailed to me. They found me somehow,
but it arrived.
Yep.
I mean, right around my 18th birthday, here's this thing from Gillette, and I used that one. I used that one.
It can work for razors. It can work for consoles, as you mentioned. Another very famous thing from the ye old days up through now, printers and printer ink. Another big model.
Keurigs. That's From everything I've heard, they make almost nothing on the machines themselves because it's all about the specialty cups.
Yeah.
That's why they put the sensors in, so you could only use the
official
cup.
Printers started doing that with the ink too.
About
HP wants to use official HP ink because they don't make money when you go to Dollar Ink Club or whatever. Dollar Ink Club. So anyway,
just for ink.
So we agree on that. So so that's the thing. Is clearly they have a certain profit margin, and the example I used on This Week in Pinball podcast that I'll use here as well is we saw this from Charlie Emery, head of Spooky Pinball, when he announced the production for Total Nuclear Annihilation. He came out and he said, we're not making as much on Total Nuclear Annihilation as we would normally profit on our other games.
Right.
But he didn't want to mark it up anymore because given it being single level, he thought not enough people would buy it.
Which is very valid.
So, yes, it is. So, last news item. Deeproot. I've pasted in here, I think I have a Twitter account now. And they shared some artwork that they're working on. I'm guessing it's for Raza because they described the character as a Martian princess. But any thoughts? She looks like a Martian.
I guess. I don't
know if I could tell she's a princess per se, but
it's the hair.
Okay.
I mean, it's like how do I want to put it? It feels very your kind of pin-up-y sci-fi alien princess thing. That's what it feels like.
Okay. Yeah. You think kind of sort of a cross between Alien and Cheesecake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, outfit that makes no sense other than the fact that it's a black leather catsuit.
Okay.
A giant gun and antenna. I mean, this is like
you're like and antenna.
And antenna. This is like 1950s sexy alien stuff going on here. I mean, that's what it is.
Well, given that video that we talked about several episodes ago where they did the whole, it was the explanation, it was that super wide screen and it kind of told the story of Raza and it was very 50s-esque. And the aliens are coming in and they are going to crash on an abandoned graveyard and an abandoned everything else.
Yeah.
So if it's that, do you think that?
No, I think it fits fine.
Okay. You think that people will like sort of the campy Raza?
I do.
I don't know how you make it not campy, quite frankly.
Right. No, you have to. And here's the thing is, I like that kind of, I like that kind of
style,
like schlocky type thing.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I thought the art looked fine. It's sort of, it's cartoony. I think that can go fine with pinball. Yeah. It's been a while since we've really seen cartoony in pinball, I think. Outside of Jetsons.
Yeah. Which doesn't really count.
Yeah. Though it looked good.
Yeah.
Too bad
about everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're done with pinball news. So we could have covered this next topic on the E3 episode, but it was the E3 episode. And when I set up the poll, I accidentally had it run for 3 weeks.
No, you totally did that on purpose. That was just good planning so that we wouldn't have to worry about it during E3. Don't put that stuff off. You got to lean into that one.
I don't know. So anyway, we're talking about the game that Tony created 2 episodes ago that we played, which was Munsters Replacement, which was what would have been a better sort of 60s era TV show to do by Stern Pinball as a pinball machine rather than the Munsters, because everyone agrees that the Munsters was not the right pick.
Yes.
And so we have the results. For those that don't remember, it was Hogan's Heroes versus Mission Impossible. Those were the 2. Tony ran with Hogan's Heroes. I ended up running with Mission Impossible as the 2 that we weeded out through the list of like 32 shows that you started us with.
Yeah.
And the results were not close.
No, but they were what I expected.
Oh, they were what, I don't know. We'd have to go back and play. I said at least 70% would go for Mission Impossible.
Well, no. I expected Mission Impossible to win.
Yes, you did say that. And it did. 77% to 23% for Hogan's Heroes. Yeah. So it was brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Brutal. And from the comments, we were both wrong anyway.
Well, we did. Yes. And we both thought that was a possibility.
Yes.
Because we both said, okay, we want people to comment in the Facebook thread as to what theme they think would have been the best substitute for Munsters. What surprised me was how unified that was.
That did, sir. I expected to see a bunch of different things. It was pretty much one thing.
Yes. Get smart.
Yep.
And I get it. And
I
kind of feel bad because I fairly summarily ended up dismissing it as being too comedic, because in the course of our discussions, at least for me, I at some point started shifting into things that were very, very serious other than the monkeys as a music pin.
Right.
And so I was started to rule out like really comedic things. You obviously went a different route and were much more considerate of things like McHale's Navy, Hogan's Heroes, obviously, things that had the comedic element. So it kind of, in the end, became the serious show versus the fun show.
Right.
But Get Smart was one I had carried the furthest, and then I still think it fell in the quarterfinals or something.
It did, yeah. No, it fell pretty.
So anyway, there was a really good response to that game. So at some point, you should do the research and come up with another one.
Yes. At some point, when I remember how to play pinball.
Maybe do one with 80s movies to replace Ghostbusters, even though everyone loved the theme Ghostbusters.
I don't think I'd want to replace Ghostbusters.
Well, then maybe we don't couch it on replacing anything and just say, what would have been a really good thing what would have been a really good radio drama from the 20s to make into a pinball machine? To replace the theme of The Shadow with Alec Baldwin. Because no one liked that movie.
Interesting.
Anyway, maybe just something a little more modern.
I don't see how anything could possibly beat War of the Worlds.
Yeah, probably not. But especially if it's a drama. So
we could do something like campy, cheesy 80s or 90s action movie. You know, the standard, I'm talking like Commando.
Yeah. So generic action movie.
Generic action movie.
You know what another one could be, that would be fun, could be to go alongside, Goldeneye. What's another James Bond movie that should have been, one movie that should be made into a pinball machine? Because James Bond's had the kind of generic Gottlieb timed one with Roger Moore on it, but it wasn't based off a specific Bond.
Right.
And other than that, there's only Goldfinger. Not Goldfinger, sorry. Goldeneye.
I was going to say.
Sorry. There's too many golds. Cause there's a man with a golden gun as well. No, Goldeneye, the first Pierce Brosnan one.
Yeah.
It has the game with the satellite.
Yeah, that could be a good one. We'll have to think about it.
Well, no, that one already got made into it.
No.
Oh, you meant that game would be a good
one. That game, that concept game. Because I kind of like this concept game thing.
Well, it just, the crowd reacted, so I'm noting it. And speaking of crowd reactions, the last thing in pinball, 20 questions. We haven't played it in quite a while.
I lost.
And I was giving you time to heal. And now those wounds are healed.
Yes. So, now that I haven't played pinball in forever.
But that doesn't matter because I could dredge up something from decades ago. Well, maybe not. But for those that are new to our game here, in 20 questions, Tony will get to ask me a series of questions that are designed for yes or no answers about a pinball machine. It will be a flipper pinball machine, and it will be a pinball machine that I know he's played. For the first 15 questions, he just has to use his mind. But after question 15, for the 16th through 20th, he may use IPDB, Pinside, other online sources, and other sources in order to help narrow things down and such. And the odds of victory generally are very high because of that structure.
Except for when it's not.
Except for, well, there were reasons, and I understand the reasons. We sometimes have hiccups in the game. It happens. But I'm very confident this time. I believe in you. I think you're back on form. I think you're rested and you're ready.
Oh man, War Games. War Games would be an awesome pinball machine.
You push start and it has to say,
would you like to play? Oh, we already won an 80s thing.
Video mode. How about a nice game of tic-tac-toe? And then you have to play tic-tac-toe. And you lose because it's a computer. It cheats. Okay. Whenever you're ready to ask your first question.
You could activate a mode where it actually, where the machine actually will play itself for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it an EM?
No.
Is it newer than 1990?
Yes.
Is it newer than 2000?
No.
How do I want to do this? Is it Striker Extreme?
No.
Okay. I just had to get it out of the way because it was going to be stuck in my head forever otherwise.
Just so you know, Striker Extreme was the year 2000.
Was it?
Yes.
I thought it was earlier than that. I thought it was 98 or 99. So, see, that's what I get for not having everything memorized. So, is it a Bally? With the standard rules that I understand that Bally is Bally
yes.
and William.
Yes. Okay. That's question 5.
Let's see. Is it 95 or newer?
Yes.
Is it a licensed theme?
No.
See, normally this would be one of those where I would start locking the year down.
Right.
But I don't know the years of machines good enough. That wouldn't help me.
Well, what other things could you use to rule out games, given what you already know?
Non-licensed, 95 to 99 Bally. I could use, because I kind of got burned using theme last time because I made some assumptions after using it. I could use mechanics. Does it have more than 2 flippers?
No.
Does it use a button instead of a plunger?
Yes.
Is it AFM?
Yes. That was the 10th.
You know what's annoying? It crossed my mind on the 95-99, so that was 4 questions earlier.
I told you I felt good about this one for you. For those that aren't aware, Attack from Mars is AFM. It's Tony's favorite game of all time. So
it is.
I thought I was being really nuts. It's a 2-flipper game. It's 95. It is trademarked as a Bally. So it's asking if it was a Bally specifically as well.
Yeah.
Did clarify and quantify that. No, it's an auto plunge. So it's got the button. No, actual manual plunger. And, December of 95 was when it was manufactured. So it was just right there in, well, almost a year in to your range. It's a Brian, you could have asked about the designer. Is Brian Eddy design?
That was the question that when I went with, when I asked about flippers, I was thinking, cause I was wondering if it would have been that or, Medieval Madness.
Right.
So I thought about it.
Lyman Sheets software. Yeah. It was confirmed by George Gomez that this was not based on the movie or anything. It was unlicensed. It was coincidence that, Mars Attacks came out within a year of the pin.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the aliens are very different looking.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So, anyway.
It is
you've played it, obviously.
Game.
So. Yep.
Obviously, I've played it. Because, again, like I said, it is my favorite game.
So, and did well. Got it on, you named it on the 10th one. So, according to my numbers.
That might be my best finish ever.
I don't think so.
I think I did one better, actually. So we've got it on the website. You have all the things on on our website.
Right. There's a section, if you go to eclecticgamers.com, up at the top, there's a category called 20 questions. And you can see how we've done on things before. And actually, no, this is your new best. You had 2 ties Rob Zombie you got on 10.
I got Rob Zombie on 10.
So this ties your best. So it is your best.
Yeah.
Good job.
Nothing as good as your 5. Nick Baldridge's 9, which was really impressive on Sing Along.
Yeah, I should have done a Solid State era game with him.
He would have made sense.
That was pity. I was merciful. Though, he knows so many of them. His head could be crowded with stuff like that. Sing Along's a good game, though. So that was the one we did with him. But
Sing Along is a good game.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Good job, Tony.
Yay, me. Redemption.
So, we ready to move on into video games?
You know, the sad thing is that we are at this point with this game. I'm pretty much just going to have to guess Striker Extreme at this point every time, because the one time I don't just throw it out there, it's going to be the time you actually have chosen.
I thought about it yet again, and I thought, he's probably going to throw it out there.
I almost threw it out there as number 1, just to do it.
I know. The problem is I don't know if I could ever. I'm so tempted to do it to you because it would be funny.
It would be so hilarious.
But I don't know if I could live with myself with you having a guess on 1.
Yeah.
And knowing that nothing can ever be better than a guess on 1. The best I could ever do is hope to tie it. And I never throw out game names as the first guess. So
no,
I'd have to start at that point.
Right. Just to have the hope.
I've played so many. The odds are not in especially because games can repeat.
Yep.
You don't, the rules are just that I played it. So every year that passes, it just gets harder.
Because we've done one repeat that I didn't remember was a repeat when I did it.
Yeah. Well, I know you have 3 video game news items.
Yeah, there's not a lot because E3, there's been some stuff going over. And again, I've not been tracking news or playing games nearly as much as I should. Been working on stuff around the house and family deals and stuff. But I was talking to one of my good friends who still plays EVE a lot. I've spoken about EVE on this show in the past, how it is the one MMO that I would really love to continue to play if I had the time and the money for it because of its depth and its sandboxy nature. Well, EVE has always been a huge sandbox. It's broken into 3 segments. There's high sec, which is lots of PvE. There's a PvE NPC faction that sets rules. So inside high sec, you have to follow those rules. So you can't be, a trolley ganker type person. Then there's low sec, where it's kind of an in-between area. They'll still show up for some stuff, but the AIs are a lot stronger on the PvE content. And then there's nullsec where there's PvE content and the AIs are stronger, but vast majority of nullsec is driven by players and their corporations. And some of these corporations will number 10 or 15,000 players in a corporation or an alliance of smaller corporations that work together, and they actually physically hold large swaths of space. And they fight each other to get new areas, and they fight each other just to be trolls and to get resources. And in EVE, everything is driven in EVE economically from a player base. Everything good is made, manufactured, hauled to market, sold by the player base, not by NPCs. Well, what has happened was during an update, there was a new type of enemy AI that appeared during a previous update, and they were called the Drifters. And those AIs acted a little different than the AIs of the older PvE content. Drifters would, if you ran away, if you came under attack and you escaped and you ran away, they would chase you, like, through the system. So you couldn't just warp away to a different point in the system and then wait for them to despawn and go back, because they would chase you down.
Battlestar Galactica style.
Exactly.
Wow.
And instead of just using basic strategies, they would use more refined strategies like you see in actual PvP content. But even then, they weren't a huge deal. It had actually come to a point where they were farmed, because what people would do is they would go out and trigger them, and then they would fly back to their giant player-made star bases and space stations and let the defensive weapons take them out, and then they'd gather the loot, this and that.
Makes sense.
So it just become another little loot pinata, and nothing bad. In the latest update was titled Invasion. When they did it, it's general things like they always do on their updates, but CCP, the creators of the game, were very mum about what else could happen. They were just a general update. They put out the normal stuff. Nobody thought anything about it other than the fact that it was called Invasion. And then suddenly on Wednesday of last week, the leaders of all of the major nullsec corporations and alliances and all the players in nullsec started getting chains of alarms of their star bases being under attack. Not like one star base, like huge swaths of them. And when they jumped in, they all thought, oh, one of our enemies are... They're launching a deep raid. They're just being annoying. They're whatever. They're being trolly. Okay, we'll defend against it. And they jumped in. Drifter battle fleets. Drifter battle fleets all over the game in null space. They're putting bases into reinforced timers everywhere and then leaving. Because how a starbase thing works in EVE is you beat on it for a while, and it goes into reinforce, and when it goes into reinforce, you can't damage it anymore, and you can't damage it for like 15 hours. So you knock it into reinforce, you go away. 15 hours later, you come back, you hit it again. There's a window when you come back when it's hittable again before it comes back to full strength. You hit it again for a while, it knocks down into a second layer of reinforced, you go away, you come back, you finish it off, you destroy it.
Okay, so it's like to give a breather so that the operator of it has a chance to build up something.
Yeah, it has a chance to get online, because you're not online 24/7. Yeah. So these fleets started appearing all over nullsec and putting stations into reinforce. Now, from what I've read, they've not been coming back to knock it out. They're just causing lots of damage, including destroying a very expensive fit super capital ships and wiping out lots and lots of players who try to fight them. But there's been so many of them, they've been all over the place, and they've been hitting so hard that the players and their corporations have had to break off wars, retreat from fighting each other to defend their interior systems. And at this point, as of the last updates I read, most of the player base in EVE in the nullsec, even the alliances that have been at war for literal years, are working together to try and figure out what's going on. Because when people have sent messages to CCP, all CCP has said is that it's not a bug, and they won't say anything else. And when when various news organizations like PC Gamer and Kotaku and Polygon and stuff have reached out to them for information about it, all CCP will say is, well, we tried to contact the drifters, but they're not answering our hails. But they did send us this picture, and the picture is a map of EVE, and then right beside it is a map of EVE, but all of nullsec is red and just says drifters. So literally all they've done is memes. Nobody knows anything. The corporations and the alliances are starting to figure out the rules. From the sounds of it, the interest is generated enough, has done something big. It's gotten EVE a big jolt back to their player base.
Oh, okay.
A lot of resubscribes from people who've been out for a while. We'll see if this continues. We'll see what their in-game plan is. It's just interesting to me that they've made such a big change, and they're just staying so silent on it. They're just like, don't know. It's not a bug. Don't know what's coming next. So it'll be interesting to see if they're going to do this and then it will start. I mean, will they start coming back and hitting them so they actually hitting the reinforced timers when they come off? It's possible. I don't know. Nobody knows what they're going to do, but it's going to be interesting to see if this is a major change and a major shakeup to the universe, or if it's just a little short time event. I know some people, like the head of one of the largest alliances, which is the Imperium, I think is what they call themselves now. That this alliance existed when I played Eve, except for they went under a different title, but it was still basically it was goons. It was Goon Swarm, and their associated alliances. But and that alliance has been led by the Mittani for, I don't know, a decade or more. He led it when I played, and I haven't played since before my second child was born. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep going more, if this gets in bigger, or, I mean, this could be Eve's gone to a free-to-play model. They've been having reductions and stuff. They've been interesting. They could be setting the stage for totally burning down the nullsec for a rebuild and I mean, when everything is as situated and everybody's as entrenched as they are, they have to do something major.
Right.
So that's been the thoughts online. Is like, are they getting ready to burn nullsec to force everybody into doing different stuff to shake up the universe? Do they have an actual end game planned instead of just being one of those games that fizzles out? Are they looking to do a massive shakeup so they can do major changes to what comes in? And what would something like that cost to their player base? Don't know. It's all speculation. Hopefully we'll see some more coming, and I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen. So, next thing is only kind of video game related. With the end of Game of Thrones, there are so many fantasy-based stuff out there. The Witcher TV series is coming to Netflix soon.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Amazon Prime is doing 2 fantasy shows. They're doing a Lord of the Rings show that is set before The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings and all that. It's like a prequel show.
Uh-huh.
And they're doing The Wheel of Time, which my wife is super excited for, and I'm super excited for because it's a really enjoyable series. But somebody else decided to jump in on it. Square Enix decided to jump in on it. So now we're looking at a television series based on Final Fantasy XIV.
I didn't even know that 14 was popular enough to warrant this.
Apparently it is.
That's their new MMO.
That's the one that
it's been around for
11.
It's been around for years. So I'm using new in an air quotes fashion because Final Fantasy XI was their first MMO. Tony and I played that. It was fun. They wound that down after they launched Final Fantasy XIV, and it was a mess. And they rebuilt it from the ground up, and it became, my understanding, is a very, very good, competent MMO. But it's never rivaled, say, World of Warcraft or anything.
But what has?
Nothing's been that high, but it was just, again, I don't know. It confuses me because I don't know what the narrative is like with it. Whereas other Final Fantasies, like there have been movies that have spun off of Final Fantasy VII, for example.
Right.
You can do things with those, like the characters are really fleshed out in the single player ones. And I could see you take, it wouldn't have to be 7. You do 6. You could take any sort of Final Fantasy and say, here are these characters and introduce them and all that. And I guess you can do it with 14 too, but no one cares about Galkas. That's what I'm saying.
I was wondering the same thing. So as I looked into it more, apparently there is an overall narrative thread in 14 that I never felt 11 had.
It
had
11 did in a way, like each kingdom had but it was so hard to go through because you'd have to, like every 10 levels, could you then do the next one? Or otherwise you just get owned.
Right.
It was hard you couldn't really, unless you were fully leveled and walking like some noob through. You couldn't really experience the story in a summary section in a way that is like, oh, I get it. This is what's going on. It's like 6 months later, you're like, well, I don't remember the last part, but we're on mission 6-2 now. So let's do it. Let's do 6-2.
You know, so apparently we'll see with everything coming in trying to replace there's even Game of Thrones prequels coming and this and that. So we'll see what's going to happen. I don't know. I know in my personal opinion, if they all failed except for the Wheel of Time and it was amazing, I'd be a happy man.
Maybe that will be what occurs.
And my last little bit that I wanted to tap on is, and it actually bookends real nice to how we started with hatred and anger. We started this episode with hatred and anger. We're going to end this episode with hatred and anger. So back during BlizzCon, you remember us talking about the rage of you all own phones, don't you?
Yeah. And one of the casters yesterday or the day before on Overwatch League even used that line during Blizzard's Overwatch League stream. A game was getting started and it popped up one of the promos and he goes, "You all own phones, don't you?" And I thought, oh, I think it was similar.
Oh, of course it would be similar.
So
that would make sense.
So he might be fined. We don't know.
He could be.
But anyway, so go on with the rage. I remember the rage.
There was all the rage because they made all this big noise and they'd hit all of the Diablo-related forums about big Diablo announcements. And as we talked back then, like the week before BlizzCon, they hit all the things and started dialing it back hard because it was all assumption that Diablo 4 was coming, and they took bad hits because of it.
Well, Blizzard is known as a PC gaming company, so that they spent so much time on a mobile game was going to be the only way it wouldn't have been doomed to failure would have been if they had some big PC thing.
Right.
And the rumors have always been it's Diablo 4. We're not aware of anything else in close enough development that we expected another. We're not expecting like a StarCraft 3 immediately or an Overwatch 2 or anything.
No, that'll be this year. But there are now reports that they have actually shown Diablo 4. Okay. We know that they have shifted developers because they once again canceled and shut down a first-person StarCraft game and shifted the developers to the Diablo team. And they've been hiring more Diablo-related developers for months now. It's been out there. You've seen them in the forums and the stuff talking about it. But now they've internally shown a version of Diablo 4 to employees, is what the rumors are stating and the leaks are stating.
Well, that's good.
And that's good.
That's not rage at all.
That's not rage at all. Actually, there's some fair amount of rage because there's a lot of people who don't care anymore. They won't play it because of what happened at BlizzCon. Even if they dropped it tomorrow as a perfect, complete, the ultimate Diablo game, there are people who are like, no, I won't play it.
People, we're talking just consumers in general, or
there are consumers out there on the forums who are flat out. They're so angry. They're so angry over what happened at last BlizzCon. They'll never play another Diablo game.
But is it real? Because I don't know. I look at pinball people who there are a bunch who said, "Well, I ain't buying Pirates because there's no triple Spain disc," and now they all try and buy it. There's a bunch of
I'm not. I won't buy Pirates because it sucks.
Because they lie
and they lie.
But they
lie like scurvy.
But my point is, in the pinball hobby, especially with new in-box buyers, they are notoriously picky and also notoriously weak. They are.
I'm sure these people will.
They have there's like no impulse control, and they just spend their money like water, and it's their money, so they can do what they want. But I'm just saying, I see the weakness. And don't think you're fooling anyone.
And I'm sure they will purchase it. So
there's still so much rage about BlizzCon.
There is still so much rage about it. And a lot of what you would consider excitement is very tempered by what happened. Now, the one things that is there are thoughts that it could be announced at BlizzCon this year because Blizzard's not going to be at GDC this year.
Oh, okay.
They've already said that. So the next possible platform for them to do any announcements this year for anything will be BlizzCon. So the assumption is they might be at BlizzCon and announce a 2020 release. They're also running assumptions is that we'll probably hear more about Overwatch 2 at BlizzCon this year.
Right, which I believe that's a single player game is what they're doing with that.
Yep. That's what all the leaks are saying is that's a single player game. So that's how they're going to drop another Overwatch and not replace Overwatch.
Right. Because they're still doing so much development on the Overwatch multiplayer. They've got a whole plan with, I've heard they've got a number of characters actively in development.
Yeah.
It's working for them and they don't want to sever their player base as they're esporting it.
The last plan that I heard that was semi-agreed is that they had like 36 planned characters.
Yeah. So that sounds like what I heard as well.
And I mean, it's been a while, but I mean, that's another 10 characters on top of what we're up to, 28 now?
Yeah, somewhere in that.
26, 28.
26 to 28, I think.
So we're looking at least another 10 characters. They just teased a new one last week.
Mm-hmm.
And with the esports thing and this and that, even though I continue to hear that Overwatch League is dead.
Paid actors.
They're all paid actors. And paid actors and people farming tokens who don't actually watch.
Yeah. Hey, who knows?
Yeah. So, we'll see. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're actively watching or not. If it's still getting the hits, the views, and the ad revenue.
I looked during this week, and even with the later start times, because they were doing the 3 games during the weekdays, 60 to like 65,000 viewers listed, and Games Done Quick was going, which had 100,000.
Right.
So, I mean, Overwatch is usually in the top 2 lists of Twitch.
It is.
Even when there's not League going. When League's going, it's usually top 3.
Right. And then that's the other thing is when you look at it is almost always, or all the Twitch numbers are just like the US and Europe Twitch numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Chinese and Korean Twitch numbers are even higher.
And most of the stuff's aired on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
And then Disney XD shows some of the matches.
Yeah. Normally like 1 or 2 matches a week.
They usually get like a 2-hour block, 2 to 4 hour block. So, anyway, but okay. Well, we'll see if people don't buy the Diablo. I agree that BlizzCon last year was weak.
Oh, the whole of BlizzCon last year was terrible.
I guess I don't see the point about having a bad convention and holding that over the games. I don't get it.
Yeah.
You've already sent your message about what you expect, and the reaction to the do you all have phones has been sufficiently ravaged apart.
Right. Well, and there's also still a lot of hatred for we had record profits. Let's lay off a bunch of people.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you have Activision own you.
Right. So
no, that sucked too. So I could understand more about people saying until like, I won't buy another Activision Blizzard or otherwise game until Bobby's terminated.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I know I've seen multiple calls since Bungie made its separation from Activision. People saying that unless Blizzard separates from Activision, they're done with Blizzard titles.
Okay. Maybe they'll hold to their guns. Most people I know talk a good game.
I'm not even going to say that because
they can't play.
I'll be honest.
They can't play.
If Diablo 4 looks halfway decent, I'll play Diablo 4.
No, well, I'm not
abandoning Overwatch. I love Overwatch.
No, it's not. I don't.
My daughter named her dog Reinhardt.
Yeah.
Her new puppy, she named him Reinhardt.
Yeah.
Overwatch has our family.
Mm-hmm. It happens. But maybe the wheel of time will free you.
No. The wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
Okay. Well, it's time for us to will the end of this episode. We've gotten to the finish. So those of you who want to complain about what we said and how you will never buy another one of our games again, you can write to us at eclecticgamerspodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us at facebook.com/eclecticgamerspodcast.
We're available on Twitch, primarily when Dennis is streaming pinball, and Instagram and Twitter as eclectic_gamers.
And that's it. We'll be back in a couple weeks. Until then, I'm Dennis.
I'm Tony.
Bye.
See ya.